everyone, and welcome to She Leads the Line, the podcast where we get to spotlight the women shaping the future of broadband, telecom, and infrastructure. I'm your host, Abby Crawford, and I couldn't be more excited to be joined by someone who truly embodies leadership, innovation, and a heart in rural telecom. Today, I am joined by Jill Kuehny, CEO of Kanokla Networks, a rural broadband provider doing incredible work to connect communities and empower teams in places that are often overlooked. Jill, welcome to She Leads the Line.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here.
We're so
Love
happy to
talking with
have you.
you.
I know, I do too. I have been looking forward to this for so long. We've had this on the calendar for a while.
Yeah. Yes. I'm glad it's finally here.
Me
This is
too.
nice.
Okay, so Jill, I want to start off strong and I want to start with your story. Can you take us back to the beginning and just walk us through what led you to where you are now?
Oh boy, how long do you have?
Let's hear it.
Honestly, I'll say I got into telecommunications by accident, and then I fell in love with its mission and transformational power to change lives and community trajectories. And that's where I found my passion. So if I back it up to this accident, I was really coming back and forth from college, visiting my parents, and Kanokla was building a new building, a headquarters here in my small town. So a group of business leaders downtown had gone to recruit them to move their headquarters away from an AT&T county seat and move into an area that we had just purchased. So not knowing any of that, I'd come home and I'd ask my dad. He was the veterinarian, and so we lived on the edge of town with his vet clinic and grew up a vet daughter and just working in his office and all of that. So I'm like, hey, what's going on over there? And they said, well, we're building a new telephone office. Yeah, okay. You know, yeah, that didn't sound exciting. So, and then I'd take off again. And so watching it develop over there, I got more curious, but also fell in love. And came back with a degree, a husband, a baby on my hip, and they had an opening in. I had a business degree in finance, and so the opening had an accounting role to it, and I had plenty of accounting classes, so I took that on, and the
Whoa.
rest is history, so to speak, I guess.
I love hearing how just the journeys into telecom, they are very rarely linear,
Yes.
especially with all that life throws at us. I mean, you're talking about you in the midst of all of this, you got married, had a
Yes.
baby. I would
Yes.
love to know how you juggled your personal life and your career.
Okay, that's the hardest part, I would say. So, I never, of course, it was an accident, and you're right, it's not linear, but I think once people land in this industry, they really love it because they didn't know what was there. And so you don't know what you don't know. Same with having a career and a family. You don't know what you don't know until you're living it. So I think juggling all of those things, you want to be a good mother. You want to raise good humans. You want to be productive at work and really contribute. And at the same time, I'm a very community-oriented person. So, we growing up here, it's a 1,000 population town
Yeah.
on the Kansas-Oklahoma line, right in the middle of the country. Grew up here. It's the flatlands between, say, the Flint Hills, the Red Hills, but it's pretty flat
Yeah.
and nothing super spectacular except the views of sunsets and all of that. But my dad was the veterinarian, had a house next door to that. So I grew up answering the phone, talking to customers, leaning into some things that I didn't know I would find useful later um, in my role here. And so you know everybody and
Yeah,
you
that's
know people
huge.
intergenerationally. You know a lot of layers of people in your town because you're a community. So I think
Yeah.
growing up with that experience of just, knowing how things work, how things are made, how things are, the dirty of it. You get your hands dirty, you lean in and you learn these things. Maybe that's why this industry was almost second nature of like, oh my gosh, they build telephone lines? What does that
Yeah.
look like? And my
What does that
curiosity really
mean?
got me. So
Yeah.
I'm a middle girl. I'm a middle sister to an older brother or an older sister and younger brother. And I have a long line of family here. And so there was something about coming home that I wasn't sure I would do growing up, because as the center of the country has kind of been holed out in the middle of, hey, do well in school and then go somewhere else so we can be, proud of you from afar. I really got into thinking I wasn't going to do that. But then I married a farmer, so I'm very much into the ag community as well. And of course,
Yeah.
with the veterinary background I had, I also thought I would be into science. I thought I would be an engineer. I actually had a science and math teacher that pushed me so. They convinced me that's what my calling was. So I left for college thinking, I'm going to enroll in this. And so I did change my major 8 times. Thinking back,
Wow.
I know I couldn't make up my mind, but I
Wow.
loved science and math. I also
Yeah.
loved music, dance, choreography, all the things that my mother's, influence was bringing, my dad's science influence. And so I was really caught in the middle of, well, I don't know what I want to be. I'll just get this, degree. My dad finally called. He said, hey, why don't you figure out what you're going to do when you grow up later?
Yeah.
And just graduate. And I thought,
Yes.
that's probably a good idea. So I went to business, got my finance degree, and came home with that. Well, in the midst of that, my husband and I decided, well, let's just get married. And then, 2 years later, we have our first child. And then we followed. You do marry the land when you marry your farmer. It's not like
Mm.
you can pick up and move to Chicago like I thought I might. I don't know why I picked Chicago. Nothing makes sense now, but looking back, I was just a kid, right? So I come home and I think, well, I'll just do this for a while because I know how to do accounting. So I remember applying my first, for my job here. Brand new building, brand new people, brand new company that I didn't know. And I came in and was greeted at the front door by the most friendly person that I did know generationally. I mean, everybody knows each other here. So I think that was my first realization of I this is great. I think I can make a career here. But I will honestly say I was always looking for something that really suited me. I thought, this isn't me. I need to find something I can lose time in, something I can really give back to, something I can do beyond just accounting work. But as I was growing a family, also, working with my husband to support, things going on in the farm industry, I
Yeah.
then realized what I was contributing to was a community effort, but we are on the Kansas-Oklahoma line of a lot of small communities that are trying to really be productive and do the best they can. And I really felt leaving at the end of the 80s of where everything was crashing here um, in the rural communities,
Yeah.
that there was something here to build, onto and help contribute to
Mhm.
that cause. So I don't know, I think working through some of your questions too, I was thinking about what brought me to why I love the mission so much in sustaining, rural markets and what our piece of that is. And it's all buried underground, so nobody gets to see it.
Mhm.
I remember burying our last telephone line, and I still catch people today saying, the telephone lines. I'm like, those are electric lines. All of our
Yeah.
stuff's buried. And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
I didn't think about that. I said, I know. I don't either. But yeah, I think juggling that and knowing where your place is, where you can bloom where you're planted, and what is bringing
Mhm.
you joy comes with doing hard things,
Yeah.
not shying away from those. One of those is being raising a family and a career.
Yeah.
They're not easy, and all the credit to those to have a choice in that. And I felt I contributed to work if I was a working mother.
Mhm.
I also wanted to contribute to, growing the best humans I could to make them good citizens and a good partner for somebody in life. I mean, I always thought that is the most important role that I carry, is to develop good humans. And then I leaned into that at work. So developing humans here became natural for me from all of that I learned from being
Yeah.
a mother. So it almost built my resume up. So when I was ready to take on this next step here, which also I wasn't ready for. I will have to admit, I wasn't choosing that. As I said earlier, I was always looking around like, I think there's something else out there for me. I'm always, thinking, this isn't quite me. This isn't quite fit. I can do accounting. I mean, I'm good at math. It's just like, but is it
Yeah.
filling me with joy?
Hmm.
And that's when, through a series of events, that's where I ended up falling in love with that mission because I was allowed by my boss's boss to actually lean into that role. He saw that. And then there is something about the work we do that we do share with others in our industry. And I believe that's why we're such a close-knit family, even though there's 850 of us that
Whoa.
belong to our national association, that when we come together and we know each other in the hall, and it's that unity of the same kind of work of we are lifting up all tides here if we can level the playing field for rural areas. And I didn't know that, but that's where my joy lies. So I don't know if I answered
That's
your question, but
You did, and you answered my next one too, is just what makes rural broadband work so rewarding to you. And it sounds like it's you're building your community. And you said it way earlier, and I don't know if you meant it this way, but you talked about how you're if you're raised in a small town, you're kind of raised up to then go out and explore and be successful somewhere else, and we'll cheer you on from afar.
yeah,
But I think it's so powerful to also hear that, no, you can come back to your town and you can be super successful here and there's job
yeah.
opportunity here, and you building what you have there is creating opportunity for others to come back to your town and build
I
a
s-
career.
yes, and I see rural areas as potential,
Yeah.
just and not and looking at every decade that we have lived. We've recently celebrated 150 years of this small town and such a powerful history on the state line and through the ag industry and the cattle drives from the Civil War up. And I mean, it was something our whole country was going through. And it's like, oh, that's you know a part that we played. And now I realize every decade is some opportunity to do something new, reinvent, or just reinforce, and on the backs really of those that have come before us, but not to shy away from that as a lost cause. And so I noticed recently, I study this a lot of like, how do we get, now that we've got broadband here, and I am super into burying it forever. Like if we have fiber, we put it under the ground. You don't understand. The tornado alley we live in, the windswept prairies, the wind blows all the time here. The lightning, the fire, the wind, the wildfires. I have asked all of my neighbors, I'm like, okay, how'd your fiber do in that wildfire? Oh, it's fine. It was underground. Okay, your tornado came through. It was an F4 in Oklahoma. What did that do? How was your fiber? It was fine. It just blew our pickups around. The fiber's fine. So I know the resiliency of small areas. I know that small rural spaces in our country, which is 80% of our landmass of our country, if you
I'm
think
so
about
glad
it.
you said that. I'm big on statistics because when people
Yeah,
hear numbers, I feel like it opens their ears and eyes to
we
what's
don't think
going
about
on.
it.
Right.
Hmm. Hmm. So on that 80%, you want to do it once, you want to do it right the first time.
Mhm.
It's like garaging a nice car. If you put it in a garage, it's gonna keep,
Yeah.
right? So you've got about 40 to 50 years if you bury that fiber. And I'm into math and statistics as well. I'm
Mhm.
like you, I'm a data nerd there, and I'm like, oh, give me more data. That
Yeah.
surprises me. And so if 20% of our population is living out here further apart, of course it's more expensive to put in,
Right.
but only in year one.
Right.
I can math it out, and it is the least expensive thing we can do is to put it under the ground and bury with fiber optic. So in my mission to do that, I just feel very strongly. Sometimes I wake up after thinking and mulling it through for a year, and then you just wake up and you're like, this is the answer. We have
Yeah.
got to move forward on this. And then I'll push it, let's just make this happen. And so now that we have eliminated the commute, which is
Mhm.
the one thing that drove us in the Industrial Revolution to move out of our cities 100 years ago and move to the urban centers, was for work, assembly line work, whether we were making, the new Ford Model A or whatever, or something on the line, we were manufacturing things. And we had to move and live on top of each other in a cement, concrete jungle, they say, of just all
Yeah.
of that. And then there's expanse of land. So if you had that commute on everything you did, and in a small town, you have to go to the town over there to get this. This one over here
Yeah.
has this. Not everybody has all of it, but you're a different type of community where you know where to go get things. You always have a little bit of commute. You save, you do less with more or more with less. I'm sorry. And
Mhm.
then that's how I'm raised. So leaning into doing hard things at the earliest age possible is
Mm,
magic. And we didn't realize that until it hones you and makes you what you are when you're ready to enter a career.
right.
So, nothing against a great resume, but if I see that you are a farm kid or in 4-H, you're hired
Yeah.
just basically for your work ethic and your mental ability to stick with the job till it's done. Because in rural areas, you can't stop until the work is done. You don't have an
Right.
option to just check out at 5 o'clock and go home. So interesting, you learn that as a second nature. And so I've noticed now that we've eliminated the commute, we can level the playing field. You can do work here as well
Mhm.
as anywhere that you sit. You don't have to sit in a high rise in a big city anymore. And we learned that the hard way through COVID. Level the playing field. Let's get it all built. Now what? Why is there's still there's something there that's hung up on that rural isn't
Mhm.
quite good enough or they're second class. There's something there, and I'm still trying to get my data around it, but I do love putting the numbers to the attractiveness of living out in the rural, beautiful expanse and being able to do everything productivity wise. I mean, we all feel good and more confidence building when we can be productive citizens and contributing to work. I can do that from a tractor seat if I'm helping out, if I have to. I can do that
100%.
from a walk out in the country. I can do that on an airplane or at home. I mean, but I love my office too. I love my
Yeah.
work family. We get a lot of work done together, and it really has shown the work ethic. And I think that is different too in small communities. You know how they say that there's a saying, a mother's only as happy as her least happy
Yeah.
child. There is something about a community that is the same. If there's a piece or part, someone in the community hurting, the whole
Hmm.
community rallies
For
to make
sure.
that person whole or that family whole or, that section or whatever it takes. It's always, we're all in this together. And I think that mindset is magic. We just haven't figured out how to capitalize on these assets we already have built in because we're not sure how to speak about them because they're just natural for us.
And I think this is a conversation I've been having a lot is I think that gap is there's a struggle with how, like you're saying, how to tell that story and how to get this out to people and make them understand. Because people are very much stuck in the, well, this is how it's always been, so this is how it will always be. And that's just
Yes.
not the case anymore. But how are they going to know that unless they can see that and they're told that? And you have to, people are only going to listen to you if they trust you. So it's a
It's
whole line of
trust is long work. It is the relationship
Mhm.
building is the long work that people
Yes,
might not have the patience for, but
right.
we're not going anywhere. This is
No.
long work and we love it. And it's just the patience of we don't build for the quarter, we build for the century. Or, we're
Yeah.
here. We're already here doing the work. We just want to make all of our communities better. So as we've
Mhm.
been reached out by all of our county seats that have been left behind, the general rule about 5 years ago, talking to policymakers basically, and hey, we're here, we're already here. Let's just, fluff out a little bit. Let's branch out a little bit from our very resilient network and we can take these on. How can we make this work logistically and, financially and all the things? The basic assumption was the least of the least, the smallest of the communities had nothing.
Yeah.
Not true. We started building our fiber optic network in 2010. So we've had it since 2015 complete in all of our areas along the line here. We span about 200 miles. We hug the state line and we have a lot of tiny towns. And then we have our different regional centers. So I would say for 10 years now that we have had it, it's the difference of the user that needed it and that's capacity has been incredibly jumping.
Yeah.
And you'll notice at the FCC level, they will not raise, that speed level, and they won't make it. Um, it's not what our it's the least. It's serving
Yeah.
to the very, very, very minimum, and we have gone
Mhm.
way beyond that. But you're right. How do you talk about it? Even if 20% live in the rural areas, not all of us are in this industry, very, very few. Like
Right.
only 2% farm, can you imagine? And you
Hmm.
think all of the 20% are farming. No, only 2% of that 20%. There's even less of us out there. So I think talking to you is one of them. Talk about it a lot I'm on the city, commission, and I'm on, in some of our community foundation building. There is more space to talk about once people start seeing, oh, I can live there and bring my job. Yes, you can live here and take care of a parent or see your friends or retire with. There's just so much happening. It's brand new and I'm excited for it. So I lean into that part of my role as an infrastructure builder, of course, but
Yeah.
really as a community builder. And then the people that want to move back here and give back, it's an incredible opportunity because it's potential. It's opportunity waiting to be built.
Yes.
There's nothing
Everyone.
dire about saying, oh, rural, it's dying. It's just been withering. And when people give me those trends, I'm like, how far back does that data map go? Because if you, I start
Fact
slicing and
check them.
dicing. I said, are you looking at the last 5 years? It's been incredible. Stop taking in the last 20. You're
Hmm.
ruining my curve. But, that's what makes it feel better for them to do nothing. And
Yeah.
you really,
Oh, yeah.
it's empowering to make some change happen, but it is hard and it is
It
uphill
is.
and it is a battle I will, continue to battle as long as I'm here. So,
Me too. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the goal of, I mean, this is just one of the platforms that I use to try to get the story across. And my main goal with it is just the industry is so technical and there's so many big words and acronyms, and it can be overwhelming to try to understand. But when you look at
Absolutely.
it big picture, what are we doing? That's what I want people to see. That's
It
what
makes the whole
matters to
thing
me.
simple then. You're like,
Yeah,
you're doing the mission for the right role, for the right thing.
exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
I love that.
Um, Jill, I want to talk to you about leadership.
Okay.
You have worn so many hats: CEO, mentor, innovator, mom, wife. What are some of the biggest leadership lessons that you have learned along the way?
I have learned leading people is the hardest work you will ever do, but the most
Mhm.
rewarding. As you know, a good technician is a great technician. If you put them in a manager role to deal with all of the human BS out there, it is, just finished the book Let Them by Mel Robbins, and it
Just
hit
read that
hard.
too.
Oh, if
So
every
good.
human is an 8-year-old emotionally and a human big body, like we're all adults with
Yeah.
8-year-old emotional levels. Now,
Yeah.
all of this makes sense. And then we're tasked with that on top of doing our daily work. So in 2008, exactly 10 years before I took on the role of CEO, in 2008, my boss, my accounting manager, ogre of a guy, but we worked it out. We were good friends by the time he left. Just abruptly gave 2 weeks notice, and all of a sudden, I'm immediately thrown into this role. I knew he didn't want to do the software conversion. We were on an old DOS system with the green screen and the green. I know you probably don't even know what that means,
No.
but the old software DOS, and it needed to be modernized. At the same time, we're taking on my first USDA big loan to do a fiber project.
Mm.
And then he leaves. I'm like, what are you haven't, oh. So then I learned the role of leadership means always have succession in place. It's the long game. Do not hoard information. And then at the same time, I had to become the manager for my department of peers and friends. This is the department I worked with, and I could poke fun at or poke the bear a little bit at management roles of like, hey, come on, this is what we need. We need better maternity rules. We need better, I didn't mind trailblazing that, having 3 kids. Like, what do you mean you don't have a maternity policy? Okay, well, let's figure this out. And we can be I'm super flexible and very forgiving. It's not like, I was demanding anything, but we can make it better. So I learned human resources is a big deal. We can make this better. At the same time, I learned humanly what that looks like to take on, okay, I can do all my accounting tasks and I can get all my financial reports and I can do a whole software conversion that's going to take years off of my life. And I'm an absentee mom all of a sudden to my children. And I think I was going through a nervous breakdown. My husband was the best supporter, the best supporter. And so my kids forgive me now, but I didn't know it. My daughter just recently mentioned that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what years? How old were you? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was living in the office to try to get this done because I would never let down my people or my company. And I know that is a heavy role everybody takes on, but I can see that hitting women really hard and not knowing that they're not that they don't that they can ask for help. There was something there that I said I can do this. Um, you know what? Let people help you. It makes them feel better. You'll feel better. You don't at the moment, you feel like you're failing, but there is something there that we have got to instill in our leaders. And I have leaders of a mixed, like I have, of course, men and women. We're the best when we're together if we can understand how this communication thing works so differently, but there's so many superpowers on both sides of that. It's when we're together that the magic happens. So we've been working through that. So I think I learned the most in juggling. Um, Not everything's going to get done. Prioritize. Um, Keep your children alive and fed. If they're clean, bonus, So I'm like, show up is the name of the game, So I'm just showing up for everything I could. And then I was lucky enough to have a network of support, I I had, my parents and my in-laws. And so I have now that empathy for anybody at work here. We have so many new babies coming. And I just realized, I mean, like 5 new babies coming with our younger employees. I'm like so excited. I just want to make sure their network supports them so that they can feel comfortable to give all that they can at work and feel good about themselves and without that worry of childcare and health benefits and all the things that they need to be made whole from work. And I'm at the other end like, well, we can't make everybody whole. So it's a balance. And I think I've learned that through just lived experience. If I wouldn't have gone through what I went through in 2008, and then really in 2018, when I took the role as CEO, there was also a bit of, my boss's boss then became my boss when I took this manager role. And he really is the one that mentored me. He saw some things in there that he said, you can lean into this. You need to, you can be creative because I'm a very creative person. I love art. I love to dance. I've choreographed a lot of things, musical. And I said, creative accounting does not go together, but are you saying? And so, bringing me into the boardroom early like that, letting me present to the board members, they're just humans too. And really, they were a network of older guys that's what I learned relating to as a child working in my dad's vet clinic. I can relate to that. I can get on a CB radio and call out. I mean, I was able to cover the plant department when I was first starting because I knew how things worked. And I thought nothing is for naught. Like you will always use everything you've been exposed to your whole life, and you'll never know when you're going to need it, but you're going to use it. And maybe you don't realize it. So I try to expose not only my children to everything I possibly could as a young person to get them to be even a better full, human being by the time I release them at age 18. Or I want to do the same to my employees, and they may struggle back a little bit and like, that's not my role, or that's too hard, or that's got to be something else, or I don't want to learn that too. But there is something there that I learned in parenting that I know once you do something hard, you gain confidence you never knew you could do that. I know hard things make better people in the end. It's just getting them there. So I love developing people. I really leaned into that piece. What this allowed me to do as a CEO was to let go of the financial piece. But at the time in our industry, this is what our industry was needing at the time, was someone that had the expertise in finance and accounting, knew how the systems worked, knew how to um, lean into that side of it. It really, for how many years? 50 years, 60 or so, it was very technical,
Yeah.
very male dominated in a way that said, we need to build this foundation of, this does this and this connects to this and this is how this works. But as you know, everyone came to the telephone company as a basic utility of getting their water turned on, their electric, and their phone. Once that started shifting, and it was in the 90s, and I worked here when internet was here all of a sudden, right? We had DSL. DSL was at 1996, we changed the Telecom Act at the FCC. So modernization finally since what, the 1930s. And I was here for it, but I didn't realize what was happening around me. So
Yeah.
I'm just in the accounting department. I'm recording all the stuff. I'm learning all of the things about long distance, bringing a new long distance company, all the things. I think back, like, thank goodness I was in that
Yeah.
role. Otherwise, I'd never be able to do this role. Could I come in new? Possibly, but there's this inherent lived knowledge that you have that you will use all the time. And it was really how to build relationships with our other departments, how to get one to work for the other. When you're in the accounting, you need all departments to contribute into your numbers, or they don't come out right in the end. 2 months
Right.
later, when nobody can remember. So I found it easy to know everybody and relate to everybody, and get people to get me the numbers on a way that wasn't a curmudgeon or scowling or anything. It was just, we're all in this together. Let's do this. So I think on taking that role, it was almost a relief for me to let go of the day-to-day number crunching. I didn't
Yeah.
miss that one bit. And it was my husband that said, you're into the community role of this. I think your impact would be, even more in this role than it has been, and you're really going to enjoy it. Because I just kept saying, no, just don't think that's for me. But I didn't know what that looked like. And he was a great mentor. He just had been cut short. He had early onset Parkinson's disease. So
Mm.
we journeyed with him for 2 years. He would come into our employee meetings, talk about his tremors, talk about what he noticed, talk about how this was. And so then I had to take on, as he was leaving, he wasn't able to come in as much. He was undergoing some surgical things. I had to lean into, oh, we're going to acquire a company. I didn't know how to do that. Oh, we're
Yeah.
going to sell some spectrum. I didn't know how to do that. But I do know that my curiosity and that I'll lean into anything hard because I had that confidence of doing hard things. I will just figure it out. Everything's figure outable. Well, let's just do it, right? And so I think the courage to do that wouldn't have been there had I not gone through all of the other hard things.
Yeah. And you
So
were
I'm grateful.
open-minded too. Yeah. That's huge. Jill, before we wrap up, I just want to touch on something that's close to my heart, and that's representation. And I just want to know, why is it so important to have women in leadership roles, and what can we do to make sure that more women can get a seat at the table?
Um, all right. So women getting a seat at the table, something my mentor said to me that I hadn't really noticed. He said, well, you don't seem to have struggles, presenting in this room of a board of directors. I said, they're just people. I think if
Mm,
we realize that these
mm,
roles, yes, there's something to aspire to, but you too can do it, and do not shy away from using your voice, especially in a
mm,
community that needs your voice. What I've realized lately, more so than in anywhere, whether it's in the boardroom, I have 7 board members, and we just recently came off a vote to where I have 4 women board members, 3 men. And
wow.
it was the first realization, and it wasn't me that said it. I don't care what you are. Just,
Yeah.
are you going to
Just do the
contribute?
work.
I just need your
Yeah,
brain, right? So
exactly.
it was one of the men that said, oh, I feel so outnumbered. And I'm like, that
Oh,
is a
interesting.
revelation. I'm like, but why? I mean, we're so much better together. So I just set
Agreed.
out to solve problems. I don't really see that, but then I did. And the young women that we have here in our internship program, the young women I encounter downtown, the example I can be for. We were doing a park presentation, and a gal said, "You know what? You're just such a great example that you can show other young women what you can be, that that you can lead a company and that you're a woman." And I'm like, yes, of course. But, and so I do need to lean into that more. Of course. I remember
Yeah.
being hit up years ago. I was the president of our Oklahoma Broadband Association, and a guy was attending our conference from New Jersey, and he went, "A woman leading well, how do you feel about that?" I'm like, "Well, how am I supposed to feel about that?" "I don't know." I said, "Oh," I said, we're from the rural areas where everybody pitches in, and you're valued for the work you
Yeah.
bring. It's not as where the assumption is it might be more so in rural areas. So I think juggling chaos is a natural strong suit for women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's
Yes,
we're
I agree.
conducting an orchestra, right? You've got all
Mm-hmm.
the things. If your childcare provider's out, your day might be shot, but you've also got to figure out how to, all the things. And so you get used to this spaghetti bowl of details that don't scare you. And I love the man's mind to be able to super focus. It's
Me
incredible.
too. It is
Oh,
impressive.
they can lean in and focus on one thing and shut out
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we're talking all over the board because we're balancing the whole thing of keeping the community together while
Yeah.
the hunter gatherer is out, and the old things that they say. So I think constantly juggling through that and valuing that role. But now I'm seeing, if you have that, women do see things differently. We just
Yeah.
do. There's very much a need for both. Different mindsets bring multiple perspectives. You get better ideas, stronger outcomes. And it's not a burden for women to wear many hats. I think it is our superpower. So
Agree.
walking around with this blend of insights and pathways hitting you from all the angles, I think of it as, um, men are like what would you call it? Like a fire hose, like
Mm-hmm.
all in, and they're solving this problem. Women are like this, fancy shower heads of coming from all directions, which we all love
I
too,
love
right?
that.
So you're like, can we have the blend here? And so we're coming at it from all things at once. And then there's this super focus. If we can do both of those and how our brains are wired and leverage the best of the
Mhm.
best, we can't help how we are. For
Yeah.
years, what was it? The women needed to look like a man. I mean, we even had suits that look like a man. The
Yeah.
80s, I love the Dolly Parton show, 9 to 5, and I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And we were to behave a certain way because we were emulating that. And now I
Right.
feel fully authentic to be our candid selves. Just come, lend your voice, be you, because you have different mindsets and thoughts that will add to the conversation, and just put it all out on the table together and mix it up and work together. And I think, as I said earlier, historically male dominated in rural areas where we were building the technical, connecting lines, plowing fiber, building towers, whatever, solving these binary problems. Men are very linear, cause and effect, incredibly valuable to build
Yeah.
the foundation. And now today, it's all about connectivity. It's community. We're no longer solving the engineering problems, which are great, but we're solving the human problems, which are
Totally.
messy and hard. And that requires all this empathy, collaboration, creativity, long-term thinking that women have to
Mm-hmm.
do to
Yeah.
nurture their families, their children, their communities, their in-laws, their parent, the relationships. You have to eat Thanksgiving dinner with them. You better keep a good relationship with these in-laws. I mean, the things we
Yeah.
practiced every day, and we're just not realizing that's our development. That
Mm-hmm.
should be on our resume. My goodness, we can get
100%.
out of sticky situations because we can communicate like nobody's business in a way that just uses more words. It kind of gets the empathy factor. We all want to,
Mm-hmm.
we all want everybody to be good, be okay. So I think innovation is going to look different in our industry.
Yeah.
As I said, our lines have been built. We have leveled the playing field. We have eliminated that commute. Now let's do the harder collaborative community work, where really that example of a mix in the boardroom, a mix on your leadership team, out to the world of what this looks like to get work done is going to be different from here on. But it's so exciting
It
to be
is.
part of that. And I've noticed more women in our industry, of course, through Shirley's leadership and the different things in our industries. She's, currently our industry leader of really seeing you can't be it unless you see it. There is something about that. And so seeing that, I'm like, oh, that could be okay. I can lean into that. And my
Mm-hmm.
boss's boss seeing that before I did. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah,
I am the first woman CEO at Kanokla. Oh, it never hit me as such until men told me that. So
right.
maybe they see it as that. I was just seeing as how can I contribute? How can I add to this? How can we innovatively future think here and do it with all of everybody's skills, whether they're technical or human and all the things? There is not one department that could survive here without the other. And that's what I really hit home with my team. So,
I completely agree. It's been the same. I've had the same experience. I mean, even starting this podcast was completely, fully encouraged by men, my
yeah,
two bosses.
I love that.
Um, I don't know if I'm sure you are familiar with director Mike Sanders. He's a good friend
Yes,
of mine. He's been a cheerleader of mine. So, I mean,
that's
I think
fantastic.
that, yeah, all together, I just think that you keep saying it, but there's magic. So
There's
I
something
love
about
to,
that permission, though, that was given to you from an unexpected source, which was the male, side of that,
yeah.
because you're never sure what they think, and they are saying they're usually good girl dads, right? So they're like, girls can do anything. I'm like, oh, glad you finally, see that. But yes, they can, but it might look differently in how they approach it, and that's okay. I'm so glad that they are your cheerleaders, but did it give it a bit of permission? Yeah, for it to survive. There's our
Yeah,
population's 50-50. I mean, we have
it's right.
to
Yeah.
empower all of that. So I love that. That's beautiful,
Yeah,
honestly.
it is. It really is wonderful. Jill, before I close us out, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners? Any final thoughts, words, insights?
Leadership isn't taught, isn't learned. I think everybody can lean into that and realize they do have some leadership skills somewhere in their life and to really lean into that.
Mm.
It's not about being the only woman in the room, but it's about making sure you're not the last one in the room. And I did not set out I hire people on their ability, and I love that playing field is not seen as a gender role. So um, I would say don't wait for permission to lead.
Hmm.
Step up, speak up, know your voice matters because, especially in communities that need it the most, there are places for voices everywhere, and we need all hands doing the work. So I
So,
think also don't chase a perfect career. Chase
hmm.
impact and lean into
Yeah.
wherever you are. It's not out there to constantly look for. You are there.
Hmm.
It's your internal work now. So surround people that stretch you, not just support you. There's
I
some
like
different things.
that. Oh, I
And then
like
keep
that.
learning, relentlessly keep learning, even when it's uncomfortable. Our industry, especially if you're not continually staying on top of it, I mean, you will be left behind. So be comfortable with
100%.
changing your mind. I don't see it as a wrong thing. I change my mind all the time when I learn new things. If you don't, what are we doing here? That's what
Are you
we're
learning?
here for. So
Yeah.
I'd say lean into getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and once you can do that, you're making an impact. So there's no finish line. Just keep going.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Jill. I have enjoyed this conversation so much, and just hearing your story and your commitment is refreshing and it's exciting. So, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining me and sharing with all of us. I know that I'm not the only one walking away from this inspired, so thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I love what you're doing, and I support all of your efforts and giving a platform for this important work we do. So kudos to you. All
Thank you. And
right.
to everyone tuning in, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Don't forget to subscribe and share for all things infrastructure and behind the scenes content. Until next time, keep leading the line. goodness. But I think this happened to us on our first call too. We were just
It did.
it ended up being a lot longer than
It did.
than I thought it was going to be, which is
Because
so
we have
funny.
things in common and we're like, yes, let's dive into that a little bit, but yeah.